Hi, good morning. So thank you for not giving up and coming to this video. That's next level, bro. Anyway, what we are gonna do here is like all the conversions from flowcharts to Pascal, Pascal to pseudo, opposite way, and so on. So just like I mentioned in the before video, we have three control structures in algorithm, and we are gonna start off with sequence, and then selection, and then repetition. I've mentioned it in the other way in the video before, but that's the way we have to do it because or else it's gonna be a mess. And one thing guys, in this video, you need to pay your focus on the minor details of all the screenshots or maybe the photos that I'm gonna add in the video. Pay your focus onto the minor details and also to the major details, but to the minor details because there's gonna be a lot of inverted commas and semicolons, very important, else it's gonna be a bug. So guys, since I understand y'all, I'm gonna add the flowchart, Pascal and pseudo all under the control structures. Okay, it's gonna be like everything together so that you don't have to watch a prolonged video. So sequence. In sequence, the steps from the beginning to the end are executed in order. It's actually basically like a one-way road. So like here in the example it says finding the area of a circle. So you just have to enter the necessary detail and you will get an outcome. It's just one way, there's no coming back. So now that you'll understand this, let's go through an example to make it very clear. So now let's check this example of displaying total of two numbers. First what we need to do is begin the program, and to that we need to draw that way and then make the edges like kind of semicircles. And now we need to draw the navigators, which is downwards, and then put the arrow. And now guys, since we need to display the total of two numbers, we need to input the two numbers. So inputs are drawn in parallelograms. I'm gonna write it down there as an input, but you don't have to do that. I'm just gonna write it down for reference. So now guys that we have received the two numbers, we need to process the total. Therefore, it's gonna be a rectangle. So now it almost looks like it's over, but it's not. We need to display the total. So to display and inputs and outputs for both, we use parallelograms. So now that you're done with your program, now you need to end it. Guys, now let's check in how we are going to write down a pseudocode for the flowchart that we just wrote. In pseudo for start, we say begin. And to enter number 1 and number 2, we say input. And in pseudo, we say process when you're going to do a process. So we are going to write process total equals number 1 plus number 2. And just like input, we are going to write output. Output total. And as we use input, we are going to write output total and then simply end the program. And this full stop is the only full stop that you're going to find in a pseudocode after the end. Now that we have gained a good understanding about the flowchart into pseudocode, let's go into how to write a Pascal code looking at a flowchart or even a pseudocode. In Pascal, you need to write down the name of the program at the beginning of your program. And as explained in the before video, we need to use underscores in between words. This topic can be anything just for reference. But yet make sure that you are using the semicolon at the end of the name. Now that we have finished that, what we need to do is find out the variables of this program. So what are the variables that you find here? Actually, that's not the question you need to ask yourself. What are the things that vary in this program? Yeah, the number 1, number 2, and then the
Since
total.
total and number 1 and number 2 are just numbers, we're going to write them as integer. But what if it was a decimal thing or something plus or minus in a decimal? Then it's going to be real.
And now the program officially begins. And as I mentioned, write len should be used here. Why? Because we need to get the number from the user. So write len, which means an output, and we need to write as enter number 1 so that the user know that they need to enter the number 1. And now that it is being entered, we need to enter it to the computer so that the computer understands this is number 1, which is the variable that we are going to indicate. So this number 1 is the variable that we mentioned at the beginning of the program. So the computer knows, okay, this is the number 1. And then the same process for the number 2. And now again, this number 2 is the variable number 2. And now what we must do is find the total. And to find the total, we should put colon and then equal mark. These are all been discussed in the before video. Simply that sign means that we are going to assign a value to that variable and then again write len to output the total. And this total is thing is like, it's under preference. That's for like, so it comes out as total is so and so. If not, you can just casually write total and the total will be displayed. Anyway, I kind of messed up writing and I forgot how to spell and got it wrong. So anyway guys, it's end. So people, this is what it looked like when you code it in a computer. And note that the program var beginning, I mean the begin and then the end are all like white in color. Because why? Because they are reserved words. And also note that when I wrote END in capital, while here it's simple. I want you guys to thoroughly investigate and go through, observe this program very clearly. And when I compile this, I'm gonna get compiled successful because there's no bug in this program. So you can see it has asked to enter the first number, then I've entered 35, then it says enter the second number, and it says so and so. And then we have got an outcome of 113. So guys, it's impossible and impractical to write down all the types of codes and stuff because you have no idea what kind of code will be asked for you to write down in your exams. So what you need to take from this is about how you're going to use the write len for outputs and read len for inputs, and the way you're going to write beginning and the var in Pascals, I mean, and then the variables, the way you're going to write, and the fact that you don't put a semicolon after beginning, and the underscore thing, and the way that you're going to use the full stop only at the end, after the end in both Pascal and Pseudo. So guys, these are the practice questions that I've given you all, and you need to draw the flowcharts and write down the Pseudo and Pascal for each of them. And with that, the sequence section comes to an end. So before I start off with the selection, I'm sorry to let you know that the repetition section would be done in a different video because it's like too long to be included in just one video, else I'll just take months to post this one. So selection is a situation where steps are executed depending on whether a condition of an algorithm is satisfied or not. It basically means if the given condition is satisfied, one is selected, and if it is not satisfied, then the other selection is selected. Like in this given example, you can see that you have to input the number and then find the remainder when the number is divided by 2. And there's this diamond shape image, right? So it says is the remainder 0, and then towards down you have a navigator showing an even number to the yes, and to the right side you have no, and it says an odd number, and then it all connects to the end, right? So now you can see that there's no other path but a straight direction where it says if the remainder is 0, then yeah, it is an even number, and then straight to the end. And if it is not, then it's an odd number. There's no coming back. There's no other alternative, paths and anything. It's just a direct road. And like I said, so if the remainder is 0, then yeah, it's an even number. And if it is not, the other selection is selected, which is an odd number, and then end. Actually guys, there's a mistake here, but I'll mention it later. So anyway, you can see that in selection there's a new reserved word which is used, which is if. If condition is always used in selection only. And you can see begin, input marks, and basically this is an example where you're going to display pass or fail according to the marks received by a person. So the mistake that I said is that here it says if marks are lesser than or equal to 35, display pass. That's not true, right? It's lesser than or 35 means it's a fail, so the opposite way. So focus on the theory. And it says else if it is greater than 35, then you're going to display fail, and end if end. So this if marks and so and so to until end if, that is the if section, that is the selection. So this is another scenario where a person can vote if their age is lesser than or equal to something's with me guys, I've written everything in the opposite way. It says if the age is lesser than or equal to 18, then the person can vote. Just imagine there's a baby whose age is 4 years and bro still can vote. So see, if you write your code like that, the computer does not display the error. It will program like this, so that will not be displayed as a bug. So it's all your fault. So I literally wrote this years ago, but make sure you focus on the fact that you need to write an end if after finishing the if section, if age is lesser than or 18, and then after you write down whatever the thing you want to happen, you need to write an end if before the end. So this is another example where I have used mod. If number mod 2 equals 1, that means when a number is divided by 2, the remainder is 1, then display odd, else display even, end if, end. And actually it's not just about the if but also the else. Like you need to have another option, right? If it is not, then what? So you need to make sure that you have the if, else, and end if. And I hope you guys don't get pissed at me for doing this, but I accidentally forgot to add this slide next to the question. We did the pseudocode regarding this question. So anyway, this is a thing. Oh my god, still I have written it in the opposite way. So anyway,
still this is the pseudo, actually no, the Pascal code to displaying pass or fail according to the marks of a person. So like I said before, to receive anything from the user, you're gonna write like enter marks, so they will enter the marks, and then you're gonna read len it as marks and input it to the computer. Then you have the if section, and literally according to whatever the instructions you have provided, you will get it as pass or fail. And you need to make sure that you have entered the else condition, like if it is not passed, then what? To be honest guys, that is basically it about selection, and I didn't have a different photo to add here, so I just casually add whatever in my gallery. So I hope you guys have a nice day. If you have questions, just drop a text. By the way guys, I'm sick, so I just kept on yapping about the whole thing, and I hope you guys are clear about it. If not, just damn drop a comment, okay?